Chapter 4 Under the Light of a Full Moon. Moonwine. That's what she called it. Did you say it's gonna be a supermoon or a blue moon? It's the moonwine. Shut up, said Jenny Lea. That's crazier than Cali. No, it's not, said Karianne. Ask Steph. She knows. Right, Steph? What's that then, this moonwine of yours? Jenny Lea asked. It's the wine you drink under the light of a full moon, said Steph. That's it, said Karianne. Girl, that sounds like moonshine to me, said Jenny Lea. 3 women, best friends in college, gathered for a reunion around a bottle of wine, recalling 30-year-old memories. Steph blurted out, do you remember when we took that road trip to Austin and went to Moonshine's Bar and Grill, and Karianne carried a glass full of moonshine outside and we started walking up to 6th Street, chimed in Jenny Lea. How could I forget? You should have been busted drinking on the sidewalk like that. Then you walked right up to that cop. You had the nerve to sip it right in front of him and bat your eyelashes and smile. You, girl, are damn lucky he didn't handcuff you. I should have handcuffed him, said Karianne with a wink, mimicking a playful bondage scene in which she played the dominatrix. Sugar, you're too much. You saluted him with a shimmy and he saluted you right back and let you walk on by, said Jenny Lea with an imitation of Karianne's shimmy. Your girls still shake pretty good, commented Karianne as they all laughed. I'm beginning to think I was born to be a moonshiner. We got to go back there and do body shots. More laughs. Didn't your great-grandparents own that big old house at Moonshine's back in the 1850s? Jenny Lea asked Karianne. Good memory, answered Karianne. I remember telling you that after my second drink. My family settled some land outside Fredericksburg, but we didn't own any mansions in Austin. Wish we did. You always tell a good story, Jenny Lea said to Karianne. Steph nodded in agreement. Hey, Steph, asked Karianne, would you mind tossing the salad while I grill the meat? I'm on it. She knew where everything was in the kitchen since she lived down the road with her husband John. Jenny Lea helped Steph with the salad and complimented her, saying, You sure look fit and tan. What do you mean by that? She huffed. A Latina, trying to block the sun's rays so her skin wouldn't get too dark. I mean, you look really good, both you and Karianne. It must be the California living. Speaking of moonwine, Karianne called to Jenny Lea as she placed one of the bone-in ribeyes under the 1500-degree beefer for 60 seconds to braise before moving it to the gas-fired titanium steel master grill. I've been saving a special bottle for you until you could join us. Moonshine? No, but I'll give you a taste of that later. She paused, looked around to make sure that they were alone, then whispered, Steph and me made some, you know. Right, Steph? Steph nodded and said from the kitchen, It's good, too. 150 proof. That's crazy, said Jenny Lea. I wonder if it would help me sleep better. Guaranteed, said Karianne, then asked, What's the matter? You know, just a little heat flash, Jenny Lea said. Poor thing, said Steph. Is it bad? Nothing I can't handle, said Jenny Lea. How about you, Karianne? Done with that. I went online and searched what causes heat flashes. First thing popped up was wine, said Jenny Lea. You know better than to believe everything you read online, said Karianne. I stopped drinking for 3 weeks and still had flashes. To hell with that. I said, might as well have my glass of wine. There's something about the full moon, insisted Jenny Lea. I feel it at night when I get up. It impacts my body. I've got something to help you sleep, Karianne offered. I've been saving the last bottle of the first wine we've ever made for a special occasion, and there's nothing specialer than having you here. Let's pop his cork. Aw, Sugar, you're so sweet. I'm so glad you're here, said Karianne, with Steph chiming in. Me too. We missed you so much. I wouldn't miss this for all the world. Y'all making your own wine and now planting your own vineyard. In college, you were Karianne the plant killer. Who would have thought you'd grow a green thumb? It means a lot to me you're here, said Karianne, giving Jenny Lea a hug, and then the 3 women, best friends since meeting their first year at the University of Houston, shared a group hug. Hang on while I get your presents, said Jenny Lea, who dashed across the clay tiles to the guest room and returned with wrapped boxes. Boots! Exclaimed Karianne. Thought you could use those to protect your ankles from rattlers and crush them with your heels, Jenny Lea said. Just like stepping on a man's penis and heels, said Karianne. Thank you, Miss Jenny Lea. Just what I need. It's been years since I wore boots. I'll wear 'em for the planting party. Steph opened up hers and read, Girlfriends are therapists you can drink with. Love it. Hanging it on my wall. Thank you. How do you want your tomahawks cooked? Karianne asked. Medium rare for me, Steph answered. Burn mine, will ya? Said Jenny Lea. I can't understand how you live in Texas with the best damn meat in the whole US of A, and you insist on eating steak black as charcoal, said Karianne. I chaperoned a field trip to a slaughterhouse. Once you've seen that, you'll want your meat cooked. I suppose you'll eat yours raw, Jenny Lea asked. Just like my men, said Karianne. How much did you pay for that thing? Jenny Lea asked, pointing to the beefer. $700, Karianne said. Is that right? Harlan and me, we made one for $16 by putting a grill over our charcoal starter. It sears meat at 16,000 degrees. You should patent it and sell it for $99. Now let's open up that wine. Allow me, insisted Jenny Lea, who took the bottle in one hand, the corkscrew in the other, pulled out the blade, and cut away the foil at the top of the bottle as easily as she peeled the skin off an apple, curling the foil neater than a pig's tail. She poured the reddish-brown liquid slowly into a crystal decanter. My, aren't you the Miss Sommelier? Karianne said to the woman who'd been to Paris, Texas, but not to France. I think you just called me a sleepy person in French, replied Jenny Lea. Speaking of which, you were always quick to sleep with men. Now that's not true, and you know it, said Karianne. How'd you get all those sales? I'm smarter than the boys and worked harder. Now stop wasting time and taste this wine. Karianne poured a small amount of the liquid into 3 Rideau crystal glasses. Aren't you going to wait for John? Jenny Lea asked Steph. Are you kidding? Answered Steph, who lived less than a mile away. This is girls' night out. Let him stay home on the couch and watch TV. Karianne raised her glass and toasted to best friends. Cheers, they chinked glasses. Jenny Lea, practicing her newly learned skills as a wine novice, admired the shape of the glass, inserted her nose, inhaled, and after exhaling, swirled the liquid to coat the edges, then smelled again. She took a sip, swirled it around her mouth, then inhaled between her teeth with a gurgling hiss at the tip of her tongue. The shape of this glass focuses aromas to the nose, the same way magnifying glass concentrates light on water bugs we fried by the river as kids. Jenny Lea, you're never at a loss for the perfect phrase, observed Karianne. Since when did you learn how to taste wine like that? There's wine in Texas, you know. What could ever wine came from Texas? Karianne asked. Wait and see. There's crazy shit going on, said Jenny Lea. Now, pointing to the empty bottle, she asked, What are those yucky poos at the bottom? Just a little sediment, answered Karianne. I didn't filter that barrel. What's Harlan doing back home tonight? Steph asked about Jenny Lea's husband. Oh, he's fine, Jenny Lea said. We're just an old married couple. I want to hear about your love life, Karianne. Who's on your radar? Pff, Karianne exhaled through her lips, rolling her eyes. Well, I always say Mr. Right is right around the corner, said Jenny Lea. Let's take a look at these kids, she said, changing the subject to the safe territory of her children and Harlan. She lifted her phone to show family pictures. You've got yourself a fancy-dancy smartphone. Let me see that, said Karianne. I've been thinking of getting one. They've grown so much, said Steph. Your son's becoming a man, said Karianne. They're my pride and joy. I love these kids. I see why, said Steph with a silent sigh. Harlan just sent me a picture of his dinner, said Jenny Lea. Take a look. That's a nice phone, said Karianne. I didn't realize you were such a geeky girl. Cool girl's code, replied the Texas educator. Steph glanced at the empty can next to the plate of beans in the photo. She hadn't eaten food from a can since moving to California. That looks like it came out of the rear of a bear. He's watching prepper videos on YouTube tonight, learning how to survive, said Jenny Lea. He texted me not to tell you all he's a prepper because y'all think he's a whack job. The only thing I prepped for recent is a colonoscopy, Steph said, And that reminds me of what's on his dinner plate. Would you mind your graphic descriptions, please? Said Steph. I'm trying to eat over here. Did you get one already? Jenny Lea asked. 2 months ago, answered Karianne. Welcome to 50. You better get yours. I got mine too, said Steph. Both of you beauties at the same time? Asked Jenny Lea. The doctor must have loved that. Best three-way ever got, right, Steph? Said Karianne. That's right, nodded Steph. Did it hurt? Asked Jenny Lea. About as much as a dick up your ass, said Karianne. Oh, you stop talking like a whore. You would know. I wouldn't have any about that, sugar. Oh, right. Drink up, slut. The three chinned glasses, releasing a lingering harmonic middle C note, and took a swig. You know, Jenny Lea, said Karianne, the problem with you is you don't wax your little girl. You do? Mine's as smooth as the skin of a grape. Yours is like a bunch of grapes smothered by too many leaves growing mildew. You gotta cut away the leaves to let the grapes breathe. Bring me to your Brazilian beautician and let's trim those leaves. Now you're talking. That Harlan of yours, he's good people, and he'll love you more when your little girl is as smooth as grapes. I'm lucky. He's a good man. Is he prepping for the afterlife too? Asked Stephanie. Yeah, he watches church videos too. Are you two getting religious on me? Asked Karianne. I haven't been to church since they kicked me out for getting divorced, said Steph, raised Catholic. I listen to inspirational tapes in the car when driving to school, said Jenny Lea. Puts me in the right mood for working all day with the kids and other teachers. You ought to try to listen to them sometime, she said to the Texas transplants. You Texans and your guns and religion. No thanks, said Karianne. Oh, there's a message from Harlan, said Jenny Lea, glancing at her phone. Says he got bored and went to bed. If he ever has nothing to do, he can come over here and work on my house, said Jenny Lea. It's quite a place. Reminds me of a Mexican hacienda, said Jenny Lea. That's exactly what I thought the first time I saw it. I love the wraparound porch and the way the roof extends over it. Let's giddy up outside to the veranda and finish up your glasses and take your glasses and finish up under the moonlight. Jenny Lea enjoyed the California moonlight. They moved outside to the terrace under the extended roof, and Jenny Lea remarked, Look at the tall wooden doors, wagon wheels, and that big table. It looks like an antique market back home. Mom and I looted an antique store in San Antonio, said Karianne. And all the beautiful hanging baskets. Since when did you get a green thumb? If I remember correctly, you reported me for plant abuse when we met, said Karianne. That's right. You deserve 6 months in jail. Recognize this? Asked Karianne, pointing to a large hanging plant with foliage and shoots as long as Jenny Lea's hair. Good heavens, sugar, exclaimed Jenny Lea. Is that the plant? The very one you rescued and gave to Chip, bless his heart. He nurtured it back to life and left it for me when he passed. And now you're the one with the green thumb. It's a miracle, said Jenny Lea. He died way too young, and the three became quiet, and Jenny Lea shed a tear. Let's toast Chip, proposed Karianne. Remembering his smile brings a smile to my face, said Steph. To the man with the green thumb, said Karianne. Cheers, said the three, touching glasses. They stood for a minute, and Karianne, breaking the silence, said to Jenny Lea, I like your flats. Thank you. I had to buy a new pair. Having 2 kids made my feet a size larger. I'm 9.5 now. At least you haven't shrunk. Not yet, but it all happens to us someday. Steph, uncomfortable talking about aging, said, It took John months to find Karianne the perfect place. Her husband was a real estate agent with the ability to fix anything from electronics to cars. Why don't you and Harlan retire out here? Steph suggested to Jenny Lea. John will find you a place. Sugar, I'll never leave Texas, answered Jenny Lea. Besides, with both y'all living out here, I'll have my Texas cake at home and eat your Cali living anytime you invite me. I'll drink to that, said Karianne, as long as you stop saying Cali. You should visit more often, said Steph. I may just do that with y'all making your own wine. You're going to need help drinking it. I'm going to sell it all, said Karianne, but I'll save the best bottles for your visits. Jenny Lea yawned, tired from the travel, the 2-hour time difference, and fitful sleep. It was past her bedtime, and she excused herself. I've got to wash my hair. Your hair can wait, said Steph. Besides, why do you want to wash away the good microbes protecting your health? Try dry shampoo. You can go 2 weeks without washing. You're beyond beauty, said Karianne. Speak for yourself. I'm going to fix myself up for your shindig. Your hair is cute, said Jenny Lea to Steph. To Karianne, who does it for you? Supercuts, replied Karianne. Do you remember when I used to braid yours? It felt so good the way you combed it, pulled it back, separated it, and braided it tight as a lasso, said Jenny Lea. I closed my eyes and dreamed. The first time I saw you, I said to myself, that girl's got the prettiest darn hair I've ever seen. It still looks good for an old maid. It sure as hell, for what I pay to fly my stylist from Dallas to our home. And Harlan pays for that? I pay for it myself. Glad to know Texas school teachers can afford the latest smartphone and get their hair done. When do you plan to retire? In 10 years. You gotta retire and run the tasting room I'm going to build. A school teacher would know how to keep order in the tasting room, right? Thanks, but no thanks. I'd rather be your friend than your business partner. What do you mean by that? I mean, I know how competitive and bossy you are, and we'd end up fussing with each other. Steph nodded in agreement. Did you just call me bossy? Asked Karianne. Bitch! She called her with a big smile, and they laughed. See what I mean? I'd rather be your friend than... An owl hooted. Did you hear that? Sounds like the owl's back home, Jenny Lea said. That was a great horned owl. Usually it's the barn owls that screech through the night around here, but this old owl is out in the full moon. What do you suppose he's saying? Asked Jenny Lea. Hooty call, said Karianne, shaking her booty. He must be horny, said Steph. I sure am, said Karianne the bachelorette. Let's see if we can catch a peek of him. And they tiptoed from the terrace into the field, where they would plant vines in 2 days. Hoo, 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 called the owl. Wow, listen to that, whispered Karianne, a shiver reverberating down her back, not noticing all the dogs in the neighborhood were silent. Springtime in Southern California. Anything is possible. Even the reunion of 3 college friends, so far away from where they met, where they grew up. A season of magic, when baskets hanging from the eaves overflowed with petals, shoots, and leaves. The fragrance of jasmine blooms mingled with inebriating wisteria, mystical orange blossoms, and intoxicating iris to perfume the evening air. Purple California lilacs, adding musky complexity. When a businesswoman, a road warrior raised with a red thumb, could simply add water to plants and they grew. The woman in the moon guided soft moonbeams through their crystal glasses and cast black shadows behind pale-lit boulders glowing in the dark. Standing tall in the middle of a grove framed by a fairy's nightlight, Old Man Oak lifted his arm skyward, where an owl's talons grabbed his stick finger. Jenny Lea pointed to a rabbit hopping along the ground, stopping to nibble, then to the owl perched above, a silent drone waiting for the perfect moment to unleash his deadly payload. Karianne scanned the surroundings and noticed a cat moving slowly, gracefully, along the edge of trees bordering the field she and her crew had cleared, plowed, and staked for the vineyard. What's the neighbor's cat doing out with all the coyotes around? Nice kitty. She noticed the feline was larger than a kitty. Jenny Lea, Steph, she whispered. Look over there, a bobcat. Karianne tiptoed back to the table on the terrace and grabbed her single reflex camera with high-powered telephoto lens. She lifted the viewfinder to her eye, zoomed, and her gut was jolted with adrenaline when she realized the cat was a mountain lion staring back at her. Karianne's breathing stopped as the cougar, who had observed her every move, let out a growl that froze the three women and rabbit in their tracks and launched the owl from his observation tower. Karianne pressed the shutter button and with the benefit of magnification beheld the cat's long fangs in moonlight. The mountain lion sprinted towards the rabbit and snatched it with a clawed paw, scooping it into her jaws, chomp, warm blood flowing through puncture wounds. The 200-pound cat released her limprey and turned menacingly towards the women and roared, then picked up her snack and trotted across the cleared land where baby vines were to be planted, through the oak grove, across the street, up the hill to the neighbor's overgrown property, then down into riparian canyon and of dense bush, manzanita, California lilac, chaparral, and sage that extended for miles. "I can't believe we saw a freaking mountain lion," Jenny Lea and Steph said in unison when their breath returned. "I can't believe we saw a freaking cougar and lived to tell about it," said Karianne. "As I always say, life's too short." Karianne knew if she had been walking alone on her property with a glass of wine under the full moon as usual, the mountain lion's claws and teeth might have been the last thing she felt. "Are you thinking what I'm thinking, sugar?" asked Jenny Lea. "You bet," said Karianne. "And I now know what I'm going to call this place." And as the howls and barks of dogs returned, they finished the bottle of wine, pulled out the moonshine, and discussed grand plans for the universe under the glow of the moon wine. The next morning, Karianne continued the party by opening up a bottle of bubbly, and Jenny Lea kept her company while Steph abstained as a designated driver. Running late, they rushed to the car with the red and white spirit cord hanging from the rearview mirror and dashed downtown. Karianne neglected to use the facilities before leaving, a mistake as her bladder was filled with champagne, orange juice, and coffee. "Steph, pull over, will you? I gotta pee." "Here?" she asked, turning into a parking lot. "Here!" cried Karianne, who flung open the door, dropped trowel, and tittled on the asphalt. Relieved and fortified by the alcohol in her veins and the company of her two best friends, Karianne passed through the doors of the tattoo parlor that would mark her life forever.